pointing, blaming you did not know. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I give you everything. As you cross my stormy seas, but you meant the world to me. prayed for my downfall and I found a way to reconcile. 'Cause in my heart it's not worthwhile. It's a bloody battlefield where some go down, others heal. In the end it's all the same. All you can do is play the game. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm sad to say I'm sorry, so lie. Pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. I'm sick of all these lies. Don't care if I capsize. There's nothing left for me to hide. Don't wanna live a lie. Too many lows, too many highs. Too many things to criticize. So I leave it all behind. Don't wanna live a lie. Life kept spitting at my feet and forced me down a dead-end street. When all I had went up in flames, burning all the dark remains. I cover up every part of my skin, oh, 'cause I don't like the person within. Oh, I know I'm the one to blame. All I can do is take the shame. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm too sad to say I'm sorry, so
Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. Week 1 is in the past. Final thoughts on West Virginia coming your way. And then we move on to the Blue Hens of Delaware in Week 2. Penn State will face them at noon on Saturday. A lot to break down, a lot to preview. Sean Kane is with me. Caroline will be our special guest picker. Make sure you get your Big Ten pick'ems in. I'll be with you in just 1 second. Shout out to everybody on YouTube. Let us know where you are watching from in the chat. And make sure you've already liked the video. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How you doing today, Sean?
Doing good on this update, Cory. This week is flying by. I love
Dude, it's a weird ass week, man. It's
Wait.
just
Labor Day. I mean, it's a clutch holiday, but it throws everything off. But we're
It-
closer to game day, so
it's just like it was also weird too because we started going to twice a week. And I
Right.
feel like that also kind of like abbreviated the week because like we finished the show on Monday and then I like woke up yesterday and I was like, I gotta start preparing for the show on Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of all happened pretty fast, but I'm happy for it. It's a good sign when you and I are talking at least twice a week.
Yeah, that means there's a lot to talk about, and there certainly is. And that means football season's here. NFL starts Sunday, and we got the Blue Hens before we worry about that. So
Yeah,
So,
we'll talk Blue Hens in a little bit. We're gonna wrap up with some West Virginia final thoughts, and then we'll preview the Blue Hens in Delaware, and then we'll answer some fan questions, and then we'll have Caroline, friend of the pod, was on last year as a guest baker. I believe she did pretty well, if I remember correctly. She'll be back on to pick today and give us some Big Ten pick'ems. If you haven't done your Big Ten pick'em for week 2, make sure to do that. You don't want to fall behind. We had 46 people do it in week 1. So, it doesn't take much to fall behind a little bit there. Sean, what are your just overall thoughts right now on just Penn State football as we head into week 2?
Well, I think Joel Klatt actually put it best, and he said Penn State fans should be giddy. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, you look around the Big Ten, and I don't think Ohio State fans are very happy with the way they played on Saturday. They only won 23-6 against the Indiana team that neither of us think very highly of. And Michigan, although J.J. McCarthy did play well, it was kind of a so-so game against East Carolina. They did win big, but East Carolina is not a very good football team. So right now, I think if you're Penn State, you probably feel better than anybody else in the Big Ten. And that's not a feeling that I think Penn State fans are accustomed to this early in the year. And really in general, I don't think that if you compare how the fan bases feel at any given time, Penn State's rarely the one that feels the best, but I feel good about the squad. I mean, are there things we have to improve on? Of course, but overall, I feel very happy. What about you?
Yeah, I think Sean Fitz put it best the other day when he said, when you're getting mad that the other team is picking up a first down, that's usually a pretty good sign. And so I'm happy where Penn State's at. Obviously, not everyone feels that way. We got some fan questions that kind of go into that a little bit. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Marquette. He says, great job, guys. Enjoy listening. Forgive me, Ryan.
Thank you.
But I believe you might be newer-ish here. So thank you for watching on YouTube today. With that being said, let's wrap up our thoughts on West Virginia. And I guess maybe before we do that, Sean, we should talk about some, notable news. Linebacker Abdul Carter report today that last month, so it's not like it happened today, but last month he got a misdemeanor for some marijuana possessions. And I guess he set off the smoke alarm. Police came. He surrendered the bag of Mary Jane pretty much right away. And then as of like 5 minutes ago, James Franklin says that has been dealt with internally. So didn't think anything more was going to happen because he played last week. And again, this happened over a month ago. But we got confirmation during the practice today that has been dealt with internally. So nothing really new to report there. That's kind of a beginning and the end of the story all in one show. So there you go.
Pretty much. And it's not something you want to see. But in today's day and age, is it the biggest deal in the world? No. It's a misdemeanor. It's not. But it's just something that we're just gonna be able to move on from because Franklin handled it internally. So I think if Abdul Carter was going to miss any time, he would have already missed time because it happened a month ago, and Penn State was certainly aware of it a month ago. So, like Cory said, that's the beginning and that's the end.
Yeah, the only other big news report was from practice. We mentioned a couple players that didn't play last week. Kazai Izzard, Daquan Hardy, Amin Vanover, and Omari Evans. Sean, we saw Omari Evans out there practicing. Did we see anybody else? Was Amin Vanover out there? Was Izzard out there? Was Hardy out there?
No, none of them were out there. So, like Cory said, Omari Evans, who I believe was listed, he's either questionable or doubtful. So that means, there was a chance that he'd play going into the game. He practiced today. So obviously a good sign. Hunter Norzad, also important to say because Franklin said yesterday that he was dealing with bumps and bruises. Now, he did play on Saturday, but he's obviously handling something. He's obviously got something that he's dealing with. He did not practice, or he did practice. He was a full participant. So, but the other three guys, specifically Vanover, Izzard, and Hardy, they did not. So
yeah, the Kazai Izzard one's interesting to me because literally a week ago, Franklin said he had fresh legs and he was ready to go. So that was the one that's a little puzzling to me. That is the one I'm a little bit more interested in what exactly is going on, and what if they'll just wait and see, because we don't know if it's an injury per se. It could be something else. All we know is he's not playing. And so the only time we'll know something is if James Franklin says it's a season-ending injury. And he did confirm that none of those guys that sat out were because of season-ending injuries. So we expect to get Izzard back at some point. We just don't know exactly when. I think a lot of the question marks coming out of week one, if there were any, revolved around that front seven, and Keziah Izzard and Amin Vanover didn't play in that game. So
Right, and it's hard to speculate, right? I mean, Franklin, it's like getting information out of the CIA or the Pentagon with injury reports, and that's been who he's been. The only thing that he's going to have to modify now is during Big Ten games, he's going to be putting out that injury report 2 hours prior to the game, but it's the details will not be on the injury report, so we won't know what they're dealing with. We won't know if it's suspension, if it's an injury, or what kind of injury, just whether or not they'll be available. But
hey, real quick, Sean,
we'll see what happens.
Shout out to Corey Joyce on YouTube. He says, I told my longtime friend Sean I'd give you guys a listen, so here I am. Hopefully we can get a Notre Dame Penn State playoff game. P.S. The Irish are never joining a conference.
Hello, Corey. Yes, Corey's been one of my good friends for many, many years. Unfortunately, one of the biggest Irish fans
That's
I
too
know.
bad.
So
That's too bad.
But really good dude.
We'll let you guys know if there's any more updates coming out of practice throughout the episode. Again, we started today, if you're listening on the podcast, at Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So there might be a couple of things leaking out towards the end, and we'll let you know if those occur. I want to just kind of wrap up our thoughts on West Virginia, Sean. I broke down the film last night. That's up on Twitter. You can check that out. I probably put about 30 clips out there. There's some really good stuff out there. And there's some stuff that I was really just blown away by. So highly recommend you check that out. It's always nice to get into the weeds a little bit. You always find things that you didn't really see the first couple times. And that was the case last night as well.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Corey does such a great job with that. He did it all last year. He's going to be continuing to do that. So just, it's always good to be able to take your time and look back at things, because like we've said before, it's so hard to tell live. And sometimes, especially when you're at the game, because the only replay you're going to get is going to be on the big board, and they're not going to have as many replays as NBC will. So it's definitely worth taking a look back on. So definitely check that out. That's on our Twitter page or X page or whatever Elon's calling it these days.
I saw they got rid of the retweet. It's a repost now.
Yeah.
But just some quick thoughts there. I might show some clips here in a second too, but I just had some overall thoughts from it. So many people asked us about defensive line play. How the defensive line played okay, to be honest with you. I wasn't, when I went back and looked at film, I wasn't like they were getting blown off the ball. It wasn't anything like that. I have some question marks, and maybe I can show that clip in a second, about why we're stunting and sending our defensive tackle, Devon Ellies, from the 3 tech all the way to the opposing B gap on a 2nd and 1 at the 3-yard line. I don't quite understand why we're doing stuff like that. But when they were allowed to just play straight up and blow off the ball, I thought they did pretty good. Even on the actual touchdown that West Virginia had in the first quarter, they actually got some really solid penetration. They just only needed a foot. And sometimes that's just the case. I mean, you're trying to stop a 6'2" running back, and he's able to get a foot, and he got in the end zone. But overall, they actually thought they defended that touchdown play a lot better than they defended the play before that. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about stopping that. We always talk about stopping first, limiting first down plays, limiting second down plays. And if a team is in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, 3rd and 1, Well, the odds are they're going to pick that up, and then when you get in the red zone, you get inside the 5-yard line. Yeah, the farther you go, the tougher it's going to be to defend, and especially when they have a running back like Donaldson and a center like Frazier that they could run behind. Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge from that distance. It's gonna be hard to stop anybody, but especially a team that could run the ball as effective as West Virginia could. And we know West Virginia's limitations, but running the ball definitely isn't one of them.
Yeah, that's for sure, right? And we spoke a lot about the linebackers yesterday or on Monday, and I was critical of them, but when I went and watched the film over, Abdul Carter played better than I thought he did. I don't think he had obviously his best game, but he did some Abdul Carter things that were impressive. He stopped some plays that probably would have gone for a first from just a 4 or 5 yard gain. The one screen early in the game, I actually can show that one here. Let's see if I can pull this guy up because this is actually really cool. I'll explain it for the people on the podcast as well. But okay, sorry, this is the default clip I had up was them headbutting. Let me make sure I get that volume down. There we go. The one play I wanted to show here was early on in the game. It was a screen pass to the left side, and Abdul Carter reads it so well and actually runs into Chop Robinson, trips, and is still able to blow up the tight end. And if he didn't run in anybody, he probably would have blown that play up, which is just crazy because there's really no reason for that to have happened. Let me see if I can find that one real quick. Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, look at this.
Yeah, he read it well.
Yeah, I mean, look, so right when the ball snapped, right?
Yeah, look how far, and he's pretty far away, too.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for Chop Robinson also being an athlete and backing into him, so he's like tripping right now. And then as he's stumbling, watch, he still knocks 81 on his butt. Like how is that possible? I would like to have seen Jalen Reed make that tackle right there. He actually made a lot of really good tackles later on. Yep. But that was one that you would like him to make. But again, if they don't trip on each other, Chop Robinson and Abdul Carter are probably both right there anyway. And so you probably don't have to worry about it, which if you're listening on the podcast, you can't tell. But really, from when this ball was snapped, Penn State had no reason stopping this for anything less than a first down. Like they have Kalen King over there, and that's it. And it's on the near hash, and they still are able to fly to the football. So I take away the good effort there and nothing else. But I wanted to show that one just to show that Abdul Carter had some really good stuff like that.
Yeah, and like you said, you would have liked to see Reed make the play before the first down mark, but he's also coming from quite from a little ways away. And here's the play before the touchdown we were talking about.
So just watch Devon Ellis here. See him right here? He's sticking out. He's stunting. Chop Robinson is actually, so they're doing like a little it's called an X twist where the N goes before the tackle. And I just don't see the point to it.
Yeah, everything gets vacated in the middle. And we know where they're going to go.
Now, I will say this too. I paused it right here for a reason. Donaldson's not down yet, and I see 1, 2, 3 Penn Staters just standing there. That part upset me a little bit. Why we're just standing around when that guy's not down yet. If they actually hit him, he probably doesn't get the first there. But just all around, not a great play. I do like, I didn't like that Tyler Elsdon got caught, like actually went backwards at first, but he actually sticks his snoot in there pretty good, all things considered. But just a kind of an play. But then you look at that play where they asked them to stunt, and then let's see if I can show the touchdown here where they blow off the ball a lot better, and it looks 10 times better.
Yeah, Elsdon backs up, and I mean, it's a pretty obvious run. I mean, I could see if he's playing the pass, but I mean, the tight end isn't going anywhere.
Okay, so this is the touchdown. Now watch Devon Ellie's this time. He blows up his guy. I mean, look at that. That's Devon Ellie's has his guy 2 yards in the backfield. He literally almost puts his guy's back into the running back.
Yeah, the running back has to avoid it. Yeah.
So, like, I'm happy with that. They have the outside contain. You see Jalen Reed there beat his man. Kalen King beat his man. Chop Robinson beat his man.
Yep.
Abdul Carter is in the gap there. Beeman gets kind of he kind of gets double blocked. He gets combo blocked a little bit, but still, it's a good job by everybody. They just got a foot.
Right. And that's all they needed. But again, that's because the previous play led to that. So it all leads in. It all leads into each other. And like we were saying, it's a lot like how you got to limit a team on first down, on second down, because if you set up an easy third down, if you're playing against a team who could run the ball effectively like these guys could, they're going to get it. And there's Curtis Jacobs, it looks like. Jacobs had a really nice game.
Yeah, I thought Jacobs played fantastic, and I love this. I don't know if it was by design, but the delayed blitz here. They're showing cover one across the board. They bring Reed, who did a little bit better job here. There is a play where him and Kevin Winston gets blown up, but Curtis Jacob with the delay, not fooled by he's going to step up in a pocket, not fooled by that, and did a good job there reading that. Abdul Carter also filled the slant lane really nice right there as well, which is nice to see. Let me show one more defensive play here, if I can. Let me show this play because this is one that came up a lot. So this was the long pass down the right sideline.
Yep.
And so Penn State's going to run cover 2 here. Kalen King's coming on a blitz on your left, on the bottom of your screen. And now on the top of your screen, Dom DeLuca is going to run basically hook to curls. That's what he has, hook to curls. But Johnny Dixon has to cover 2. So he's got to go to his right, our left. And I don't know if there's something happening here. I don't know who that is in the middle there. There's Ellison. I don't know who that other guy is. Do we know who that other?
Chop is the guy
Is it
closest
Abdul?
to them.
But is it Abdul Carter right there as well?
Which one?
Linebacker below Ellison. Is that Carter?
Oh, that might be Carter.
So all I'm thinking here is Ellison and Carter shouldn't be that close together. Somebody probably wasn't where they were supposed to be.
Steve Jones said they didn't rotate correctly on it.
Yeah, so if you see where Chop Robinson is, it doesn't make sense for Chop Robinson to have that depth, but then Ellison and Carter to be where they are. To me, that's farting in the same Coke bottle. Somebody messed up right there. Because if Dixon feels like the middle is taken care of, he can cover the outside stuff. But he sees all of a sudden he's got 2 guys he has to worry about. Plays already, it's not his fault at this point. It's not Dom DeLuca's fault either. And
one of them might be spying Green, one of the linebackers.
Yes, I think
both
one
don't
of them
need to.
Right, exactly. I think one was that, was their responsibility. I'm guessing because of Green's speed, Carter was supposed to spy.
He did it most of the night from what I saw.
Right. And Ellison had probably where he was before he runs up here. But What do I know for sure? If maybe Johnny Dixon sees Ellison getting better depth, maybe he stays out there. Who knows? But he starts. Look where Ellison starts. I mean, for a linebacker, you want to be 4 yards off the ball. He starts off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5.5, 6 yards off the ball. It's pretty odd to me that you'd start off 6 yards off the ball and then creep up like this. And he actually takes 2 steps up backwards.
Yeah, he goes back.
And again, if you're a linebacker on a 1st and 10 play, your first step should never be back. Your first step should be 45 degrees, a read step, especially if you're playing zone. You should never have your first step backwards. And then he runs up and he was just lost. There's no other way to put it. He was just lost. And we talked about that a little bit last episode as well.
Yeah.
Let's go to the offense.
They need a lot of work.
Yeah, let's jump to the offense real quick here. I want to show the trot line formation just because we saw Khalil Dinkins taking over for Brenton Strange. It's important. We thought that's what was going to happen. We liked the idea, not so much necessarily for just blocking, but when they went 5 wide with the trot line formation against Ohio State, it let Ty Warren and Theo Johnson be a part of that action. And you kind of maybe trust those guys more than Khalil Dinkins. And so you don't have to change anything for that to occur. And Khalil Dinkins held his own in the blocking.
Yeah, I mean they all execute this well. West Virginia, they do not have the guys over there, and it's
No.
it's a pretty easy touchdown for us. I mean, it's just a hat on a hat, and
They had
I
to be
mean, they are
salivating.
not stopping us with what they had over there.
Yeah, that was not good. Okay, I said this on Twitter, but I'll just reiterate it again. So this is the play, 3rd and 3, early third quarter. The only maybe missed opportunity that we saw from Penn State's offense. Very fun formation because you can come out with this personnel and run the football. They are in 12 personnel, top of your screen, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and you have 2 wide receivers at the bottom of your screen. So if the defense sees this and they try to bring their big hog mollies out there, they can spread them out in this formation. And earlier in the game, we saw this formation, and West Virginia actually kept a safety over the top. And so then they threw it out to Ty Warren for a first down. This time, they leave the safety over on the trip side, but they still cover the middle of the field with their linebackers, which leaves one-on-one on your bottom of your screen. You're hoping maybe they convert this for a big gain. Keandre Lambert-Smith puts a nice move on, but the blitz does get there pretty quickly. Again, not anybody's fault. They blitz more than they could block.
Yep.
But we got to find a way to catch that football, at least for the first down. And if that ball is better placed, it's a touchdown.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that comes down to ball placement. But like you said, Aller also was hit on the play. And I thought Aller's ball placement was very, very good last night. It exceeded my expectations, to be completely honest with you, because just because you have that big arm, it doesn't mean you're always going to put the ball in the right spot. We've seen lots of quarterbacks over the years, think Josh Allen in college, where he needed to work on that accuracy and where to put the ball. And Drew, outside of this one play, and he was pressured, he was pretty superb with that on Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to show the first touchdown, but I'm sure all the Penn State fans have seen that. I want to show this play because I'm more impressed by it. And that's no offense to Drew Aller. He played phenomenal. But I think this really just shows you a couple things that I love. Number one, Katron Allen's ability to catch out of the backfield. Number two, Mike Yurcich's ability to know, hey, let's get some screens going here. Let's calm down their pass rush a little bit. They're a little bit blitz heavy right now. They run screen, but look who we have out there. Look at J.B. Nelson, who's filling in for Landon Tangwa, getting all the way down there and setting a good block. That is not an easy thing to do what that guy just did. You're running full speed at number 13, who's way more athletic than you, and you're able to lock onto him. Fantastic job by him. Fantastic job by center Hunter Norzad. And then I want you to watch number 77 here, Sal Wormley, come back and clean up the trash a little bit there. That's what you like to see. Not because it made a difference in the play, but because you want guys that want to go hit somebody. And that's exactly what he did. Could that maybe even been a penalty? Maybe in today's college football, but that's exactly what you want to see. So I love the big guys getting out there and blocking. Katron Allen makes a guy miss, makes another guy miss, picks up a first down. That is the little things that keep the defense guessing that makes a big deal when you can convert on something like that.
Absolutely. And, watching that play live, the first thing that stood out to me was, wow, look at the linemen get out there. So, I mean, they go and clean that up for Katron. And if you give Katron some space, yeah, he's going to be able to pick up some yards. I thought he did a very good job receiving last year. And we talked about on the pregame show and on the season preview show that it makes a lot of sense to get the running backs more involved in the passing game. And just things like the traditional screen, which that was just your classic running back screen play where you send the lineman out to escort the running back, and it worked to perfection. So I think you're going to see quite a bit of that this season.
Yeah, and we were wondering where Theo Johnson was a lot. After looking at the film, Theo Johnson had a fantastic game. I understand didn't get involved in the passing game, but he did a really good job blocking. There was some question marks as far as what Brenton Strange was leaving behind as far as blocking goes. I thought Theo Johnson did a wonderful job. He was asked to block out in the perimeter in bubble screens. He was asked to block as the inside tight end in max protection. He just did a wonderful job. And so Theo Johnson maybe didn't get the stat sheet that maybe we expected, but he played a very important role on what Penn State was able to do on Saturday.
Yeah. And I noticed on the replay that the tight ends were run blocking really, really well. Like, I can't remember one time that, they slipped it, that they missed the block and it led to Singleton or Allen getting blown up. I don't think Singleton and Allen had a loss in the game. They might have had a gain of one, or maybe they only got back to the line, but they weren't. It wasn't like the offensive lines that we've seen in the past, where we might even had some really great running backs, but you'd always know there are going to be some TFLs because there's going to be some breakdowns, but there really weren't. And I think it's a very good sign, especially this early in the season. And we know how important of a blocker Brenton Strange was for us last year. So to see Theo and Warren improve as blockers is obviously a tremendous sign.
Yeah, and I didn't notice this until For the Bloggy showed us, which they do a great film breakdown too. They did go unbalanced, where they had a formation where they had three wide receivers on the left and Theo Johnson, who was an uneligible receiver there. So they already showed what we've seen that before with Mike Yursich, where they're willing to show a unbalanced set like that. Even though Theo Johnson can't go out on a route, they'll leave him out there to block, which we've seen him do have offensive tackles before too. But just goes to show that if Theo Johnson can be a really good blocker, it lets you have more versatility in the pass game. Because again, when a defense sees the formation and the formation group that you're coming out in, they have to make decisions about how they want to cover you. And the more tight ends you have out there, the more they don't know if it's going to be a pass or a run, because Ty Warren and Theo Johnson can do both. So his ability, his versatility is going to make Mike Yursich's job a lot easier going forward.
Yeah, and that's what you want with the tight end, right? Because there are tight ends out there that when they come in the game, and you especially see this in the NFL, it's a pass play because they can't block. Or they might come in. This is more rare today because tight ends are just so athletic. Most of them could catch fine. But in the old days, there'd be the flip side. If a certain tight end was coming in, you knew it was going to be a run play. And with the tight ends we have, you really don't know that, because they've all shown ability. The top two guys have shown ability that that they could be excellent weapons in the passing game, and they could all block. So that's definitely what you want to be seeing right now.
Yeah, go to the defense real quick. I thought we missed Tig Brown a little bit when it comes to the safety pass rushing ability. Jalen Reed got nearby a couple times. Like I said, Kevin Winston got blown up by the running back one time. Just, not as of a difference maker as Tig Brown, which, not a lot of people are. Tig Brown was an excellent pass rusher, but I'm very curious to watch them improve over the season, because that's something that Tig Brown was so good at doing, right? He played defensive end sometimes. He put that guy in Utah on skates. So that's something I'm going to be watching here throughout September. Can the safeties get home when they're asked to blitz?
Yeah, and figuring out the Prowler package in general is going to be a bit of a challenge. Not challenge in the way that James Franklin says challenges, where challenges mean something's not good right now, but just trying to figure things out and trying to figure out who fits the best. Like you said, Jalen Reed, I think, is going to be doing a lot of that. Maybe Kevin Winston, and then Johnny Dixon, who's a cornerback. But he showed last year that he could be an effective blitzer as a corner. And with that, especially if you're a smaller guy, if you play corner, if you play safety, some guys just have a knack for getting after the quarterback. And they They just have a knack for being disruptive, and some guys don't, and that's okay. They don't have to. But right now, with the kind of defense Manning wants to run, it's going to be important. So to find somebody who might not be able, we're not asking for them to be Tig Brown, but to do a lot of the things that he used to be able to do.
Right. And Jalen Reed, I thought, did some excellent things. Katron Allen got a shout out from James Franklin at the press conference. So did Malik McClain. I wanted to mention that as well. I thought Katron Allen a really phenomenal game, honestly. I thought he did some really good things. I thought he read the holes really well. Nick Singleton had a really good cut. I want to have that on Twitter as well. James Franklin harped on Drew Aller a lot as far as all the good things he did. Is there anything else in the press conference you really wanted to get to, Sean, before we kind of move on to Delaware?
Well, he was asked about the tight ends. We kind of went over that, and he said, and paraphrasing a little bit, but he said they're going to just take what the defense is giving them. And if the defense is, trying to take the tight ends away, trying to lock it on the tight ends, well, they're going to have enough faith in the receivers to try to get the job done. And, well, I mean, Drew Aller won Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. So I think they got the job done, and because you can't do it without your receivers. So, but the plan was to get them involved, but they just, you got to just go with what they're doing. And that's what James Franklin has done since he's been here. Like Jomo, his whole offense was taking what the defense gives you. Like that was his whole MO, was if they're going to try to take Saquon away, like there were games where Saquon only had like 12 carries because the defenses would just lock it on Saquon. There were games where Saquon touched the ball 40 times because they said, we're going to take everything else away. So there are a couple schools of thought there. And that's what we're doing right now. Franklin also highlighted Curtis Jacobs. He won their Defensive Player of the Week, and also, like you said, he that shout out to Malik McClain, just said he has such a positive attitude and always has a smile on his face. And I thought he had a great start to his Penn State career.
Yeah, I think he was a bright spot, right? I mean, we weren't sure what to expect. When he first got on campus, it was quiet for a while. And so the fact that he came out and had the performance he did was surprising, to be honest with you. And honestly, you mentioned this last episode. He showed a little bit more giddy up than we thought maybe he had on that run after catch for the touchdown. So that's fantastic to see.
Yeah, no doubt. He addressed the Neil Brown stuff too. Basically, like I said, I'll paraphrase a little bit. Bruh, calm down. That's kind of what Franklin said to Neil Brown.
Right.
So.
I mean, basically, it's a shame that Bo Prebila's first touchdown is being looked like this when, again, in this day and age, you want your backups to play, not just to play and get experience, but because you want to keep them interested in the program. And if you can't stop a quarterback blast up, the one hole, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
there's more.
No,
I was gonna say there's more that Franklin wanted to say that he said he wasn't gonna say. So
yeah, and the bottom line is, guys, if you're gonna, and I said this on the last episode, if you're gonna play hard at the end, that's fine. I understood why they went for two. I understood why they onside kicked it. I didn't understand the last timeout, but I even understood the first two timeouts. You're trying to win the game because conceivably you could still win the game if you get a turnover or whatever. But you got to expect the other team to keep playing too if you're going to be like that. I mean, that's just how it goes. And I think a lot of the people that were upset, the spread was 20.5. I think a lot of people were like, oh, I think we're going to get out of this. But then that didn't happen. So I think a lot of people might be hurting their wallet a little bit. So they're taking their frustration out on James Franklin. So
I was on the right side of that.
Yes, and the flip side, a lot of people are doing backflips because of what James Franklin did.
Oh, yeah, I had my hands up in the air. I was like, yes, yes, yes. I was very happy about it.
Yeah, so let's be real about that too. But I'm ready to move on from that whole thing, I think.
Well, good, because we're talking Delaware now.
Blue Hens.
We just for people that are listening on YouTube, if you're curious, Mike Scatina, by the way, said that Amin Vanover may have been actually at practice today. So thank you, Mike, for that insider information. So that'd be nice to see. We have about 30 minutes, 37 minutes or so until Caroline will be joining us for the Pick'em. So just keep an eye there. So Sean, we got to preview Delaware and get through fan questions in 35 minutes. You think we can do it?
I believe in us.
Okay, I don't. Well, we've already looked at Delaware, so you could go back to 10 episodes ago, roughly.
Yeah.
We preview Delaware a little bit more extensively. Honestly, it's Delaware, so we didn't look too far into it. But we actually looked at all the non-conference opponents at the same time in one episode. We looked at all the Big Ten West opponents in one episode. So you should be able to figure that out pretty easily. Let's look at the fun facts of Delaware.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Correction. Yeah, I do want to say correction. Hardy and Fanover did practice.
Okay, Daquan Hardy practiced too.
Izard did not. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the correction.
He changed
Sean.
his number, though. So. I don't
Who
know
did?
what that means. Hardy.
Oh. Okay. Great. This is another thing I have to pay attention to. Delaware beat Stony Brook last week 37-13. I actually think that game was on Thursday. So they've actually had some time to kind of rest and prepare for Penn State. They moved up in the rankings from 22 to 19th in the FCS top 25. So I know it's an FCS opponent, but it's a good FCS opponent. They were in the playoff last year. They lost to South Dakota State in the second round. They actually got blown out by South Dakota State. It went 8-5 last year. Ryan Carty was a former quarterback for Delaware. They actually fired their head coach 2 years ago, who was actually pretty good. He had one bad year and they got rid of him. So Delaware is a good football program. You know, every time I think of Delaware, Sean, I think of Troy Reader right off the bat. I don't know about you.
I forgot he transferred there. We could have really used him on those 16 and 17 teams because he played in the NFL. He might still be in the NFL. I always think of Pat Devlin. Pat Devlin, for those who don't remember, he was backup quarterback in the late 2000s for Penn State, and had a very, very good career at Delaware. I don't know if they won a national championship or not, but I know they had some really good teams, and he was excellent there. And he was actually the scout team quarterback of the Dolphins for a few years. So a lot of Pat Devlin and Shawn
That's
connections.
There we go.
So
That's why.
that's probably why he's fresh in my head a little bit.
Let's move to the offense here. Delaware returns 4 offensive linemen from a year ago. That's a good thing. This Jordan Townsend kid, I think, is actually really good. 61 catches, 1,700 yards, 6 touchdowns. Did some good things last year. I don't want to say West Virginia could have maybe exploited their tight ends a little bit more, but this Brandon Brose, 4 touchdowns last year. It's his 6th year at Delaware. Maybe he gets open over the middle a couple times, just a name to kind of familiarize yourself with. And then their center. Talking about defensive tackle, I'm not saying it's going to be as hard as West Virginia, but Brock Gingrich has played a bunch of football for the Hens. 17 career starts, kind of the leader there. I don't really expect them to run the ball like West Virginia did. They're more of a spread offense, read option kind of team, but got to pay attention to in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with you on Townsend. Also, their quarterback is a first-year quarterback. Had a couple interceptions against Stony Brook last week. I also want to talk about Joshua Youngblood. So Joshua Youngblood is a grad transfer. He played at Rutgers for a little while, and at Kansas State, he was the special teams player of the year as a true freshman in 2019. So he's got some ability in the kick return game. So yeah, I think those are the guys that really stood out to me. Like Cory said, definitely proud program. Kind of surprised we haven't played Delaware. That I could remember. Like I can't remember the last time we played Delaware, but Still, they're an FCS team, so I
Yeah,
think
I'm
we'll
trying
be
to think
okay.
that too.
Yeah, but
Because
I don't think in my lifetime, I don't remember ever playing them. We played Youngstown State,
Villanova.
Villanova, Indiana State.
I was gonna say we played the
Shout out Larry Bird.
Sycamores. I
Um,
love how we both had like something to say about Indiana State.
yeah.
I think it was
Idaho should be 1AA, but they're not.
well, they were well, they're not even FCS anymore, huh?
No, I think they're still FBS.
No,
But
they're not. No.
Oh, they're not. Oh,
No,
so
no,
they
no.
might be FCS. Because that they were worse than any of the FCS teams we played.
I don't even know if they're FCS. I think they
Wow.
are.
Yeah,
I thought they went right to Division
horrible.
2.
They should be.
It's weird that they had won a bowl game like 2 years before Penn State played us, or we played Penn State, or we played Idaho.
Really?
Yeah, they beat
mean-
Colorado State in a bowl game in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's easy to get into a bowl game these days, but wow. I wanted to ask you, since it's just the timing of it. So Shador Sanders, Deion Sanders' son,
Doesn't play for Delaware.
he's not on the team. We don't have to worry about him. But he made a comment that I thought was interesting. I mean, there's a lot of comments from Colorado that are interesting. They have a lot of comments in
got that
general.
right.
But the one thing stuck out to me this week in particular with us, and it's that the athletes aren't much different at the FCS level compared to FBS, but it's in the trenches. That's the biggest difference. What do you think of that?
I think that's probably fair. I don't.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I think that's a fair thing to say. I don't think it's 100% true. But I think it's easier to be fast than it is to necessarily just be big and strong.
Right. Yeah, and his point was a lot of these guys, including on good teams, they don't go to the NFL. Just like in the FCS, they don't go to the NFL. Now, certain athletes, yeah, of course, like Kalen King. There aren't a lot of Kalen Kings in the FCS, especially now that Travis Hunter's gone. I mean, there aren't a lot of them, but he's different. Like, think about just your average athlete that plays in the Big Ten. Yeah, a lot of them would probably could probably conceivably play in the FCS, and there's some guys in the FCS that would be better than them. But I could definitely see, like, it's hard to find a lot of guys that are 6'6", 300 pounds and could move really well. There's only a few people like that in the world, relatively. So,
Right.
So I think it makes some sense.
If it doesn't make dollars, then it better not make sense.
See what you did there. That's a good
Let's
one.
go to the defense. They lose their top 5 tacklers from 2022. That's Delaware, not Colorado. But Colorado probably lost their top 5 tacklers too, because
they lost everybody. But
yeah. Safeties. I think safeties are actually pretty good for Delaware. Nick Ware and Ty Davis, 2 guys I would be paying attention to if I was Penn State. Just don't have a lot of linebacker depth. They lost so much linebacker depth. They have a 4-year linebacker who only has 21 career tackles. They had to move 2 linebackers from the offense to the defense. And then they bring in Jackson Taylor, who had 250 tackles at Westchester before transferring in. So a lot of inexperience at linebacker. Not exactly what you want, Sean, when you're about to face Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen.
yeah, Westchester. Shout out to my brother Pat Kane, proud Westchester alum. But yeah, I think this is going to be where they have their most trouble is on defense, and I think they're going to have a lot of trouble stopping Penn State. It's just a bad matchup, like we've talked about before. We were just talking about. It's hard to match up front. Penn State has a good, maybe a very good, maybe a great offensive line, and that's in the FBS, and they're going up against a defensive line that I don't think is going to be much of a challenge. Chase McGowan had 5 sacks last year. He was He's probably one of their better players up front. But yeah, this is a team that Penn State should be able to go to work on. And if they don't, then I think we have some issues. And, I said before, you want to avoid that Villanova moment. And the Villanova moment was we couldn't pick up a yard on them on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You want to avoid those kind of moments. So you want to avoid red flags. You want to avoid injuries. That's really the story going into this one, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Wanted to also mention Nate Reed, the kicker / punter from East Stroudsburg, where Penn State's head coach James Franklin is from. So shout out to Nate Reed there. Maybe Penn State should take him. We'll see what the kicker situation looks like.
We might be like, hey, you want to stick around here?
Yeah, and then did you mention Dartmouth transfer Tyron Herring?
No, I don't believe I did.
Yeah, just wanted to mention him as well. 49 tackles at Dartmouth. They also have a Harvard transfer somewhere on the roster. I forget where. So they got some smart dudes over there. Don't know if it's going to really help. I was reading some Delaware articles today, which don't really recommend you get into too deep. But it seems like those guys are excited to play. I mean, so fun fact, Sean, I don't know if you ever knew this. One of my high school buddies played football at Idaho back when they were actually a little bit better. And but he got to play at Washington. He got to play at Auburn. He got to play at USC. He got to play at a bunch of the big schools. And it was awesome. He's like, we knew we were going to lose, but it was just exciting to play in those big places like that. He didn't mind. So I think a lot of, these teams are just excited about the opportunity to play. I think they had 11 to 13,000 people at their home game. Delaware did in week 1, which is great size. They're going to literally play in 10 times that this weekend, which is really cool.
It's a little bit of a difference. And when you're playing a team like this, you might just get their best punch because they have nothing to lose. And they're going to try to show out. It's going to be not only the TV, or not only the stadium, but we're on Peacock. Still, it's going to be a huge audience, a bigger audience than they're used to. And again, it's sort of like West Virginia, but times like 30. It's a lot of guys that probably grew up Penn State fans that always wanted to play in Beaver Stadium, and now they get their opportunity. And for one reason or another, they weren't able to go to Penn State. But to be an FCS football player, you got to be really good. I mean, I know quite a few guys that either went FCS or D2, and they're tremendous football players. They just might not have the size. They might not have the speed that is required to play in the Big Ten or heck, even the MAC. I mean, that's still a step up, but they're still a really good FCS player. And of course, you want to avoid the upset. You don't want that Michigan App State moment, but App State was the defending national champions when they played them. You don't want an App State moment like we almost had too.
Speaking of App State, App State plays North Carolina this weekend. They are 19-point underdogs. I'm not telling, this is not financial advice. I'm just saying.
I don't know how there has to be a rule against App State ever being a two touchdown dog.
And I think they played North Carolina really well that one year. Like, was that last year when they went?
Yeah, did they win?
They might have won.
Yeah, they might have won straight up.
That might have been 2 years ago. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
They played close.
I know what game you're talking about, though. I think it was only a 1-point difference. And
yes. Yeah, someone went for 2 and didn't get it or something like that.
That's what happened, I think. Yeah, I think you're insane if you ever bet on them to be any more than a 2-touchdown dog.
Can you imagine trying to put money on UNC to cover that?
I wouldn't even bet on Penn State because App State just scares me so much.
Yeah, rightfully so.
After our 2018 encounter.
Right. No, I don't blame you one bit. We're actually doing really well on time. Do you have any other final thoughts on Delaware?
I don't think so. Just like what we were saying, you gotta stay healthy. I
We
personally,
got some fan questions on Delaware, so don't
yeah,
feel like we're
maybe
done
we'll
with
get
Delaware.
there. Personally, I would sit anybody who I'm worried about getting injured. If there's anybody banged up, you really won't need them this week, in my view. Now, I'm not paid the big bucks to make those decisions, but
Neither am I.
I don't think it's worth playing someone that might be a little banged up. But again, I'm certainly not paid enough to make those decisions.
Just because Mike Scatina is listening on YouTube right now, we're going to start with his question.
Sure.
So Mike Scatina asks, how much of the game plan do you feel like they were hiding stuff on defense and trying to flex how good Drew and the wide receivers are to scare defensive coordinators? And his bold prediction was Singleton goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. So how much of the game do you feel like they were hiding stuff on defense? First of all, I don't think defensively Manny Diaz was on defense. Okay. Manny Diaz was trying to hide anything because there's only so much you can do when you're playing against a team like West Virginia with doing what West Virginia was doing. West Virginia was keeping it very close to their vest. They were not dropping back to throw the football. Therefore, you can't really do a bunch of different kind of crazy blitzes or stunts and disguises. And then you also, because Garrett Green was such a mobile quarterback, you have to almost spy him every play, and spying him also takes out a lot of great different kind of disguises and coverages as well. So you were limited by those two things. I'm sure there are some things that they hid, but overall, I don't feel like they hit a bunch on defense as much as they just kind of had to play the game the way the game had to be played.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. The only thing I would say is we're not going to be facing a quarterback like Garrett Green every week. That's super mobile, who is definitely, in my view, a run first quarterback. There are only a few guys on the schedule. I don't know if there's anybody on the schedule that's that runs as much as he is, and is as reliant on his legs. Like JJ runs, but he's still a pass first quarterback. But yeah, that would probably be the only thing. Like maybe, we probably wouldn't spy as much week to week on the quarterback.
Next question here from Brennan Malinovich. From what I could tell, Delaware has a first-year starter pocket passer quarterback, which I think will bode well for the defensive line. What's your over-under on tackles for loss / sacks? And his bold prediction is Drew Allard throws for 250 plus, and both running backs go over 100 yards. So what is your over-under, Sean, on TFL / sacks for this weekend?
7.5.
I'm going to go 10.5.
Okay.
And
Maybe
just
the middle,
so
say 9?
No.
8.5. Is that the middle? I don't know.
9 would definitely not be the middle. But mostly because they had 6 TFLs versus West Virginia.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I'm assuming they might get a little bit more there. So I'm going 10.5 there. Just think about some of the teams they played last year. They got to like 16 TFLs. So I feel like 10.5 is a respectable number there.
Yeah, I might be a little on the conservative side. Maybe I'll bump it up to 9.
Nope, too late. You have to take what you have.
Darn.
Next question here is from Randy Seeley. Besides no injuries, what is the most important result Franklin and the coaching staff would like to see from this game? His bold prediction, Trey Potts will be the second leading rusher on the team on Saturday. So again, what is the most important result, non-injury, that you would like to see, or the coaching staff would like to see from the Saturday's game?
I think a drama-free game. You definitely don't want to be playing into the late third quarter, into the fourth quarter with Delaware. Especially if you're a team that has the aspirations that we have. And yeah, like you said, no injuries. That's obviously the biggest one. But I'd probably say I just want no drama. Just kind of the type of game where if you're at it, you just kind of chill out for the last 2 quarters. 3 quarters too. That's fine too.
I would say just make sure that you kind of get all of the rust shaken off of you. And I know that's maybe a cop-out answer, but there was some rust on Saturday. You got another 4 quarters to kind of get the rest of it off of you, and I think it's important you do that. So I don't know if that's honestly maybe even opening up the playbook a little bit more just to make sure, all of the joints are loose before you head over to Champaign for the Illinois game.
That's a
All
good
right.
answer.
I know, that's why I said it. Next question here is from DJ Bennett. When does Bo Prabila get into the game? And his bold prediction is that both Allen and Singleton will each have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So when do you think Bo Prabila will get into the game?
I think he starts the third quarter. Now Joe used to put in the backup quarterback as soon as humanly possible, where Franklin tends to like to let the starters play the first half. Unless things get really, really out of hand, and I think they'll get out of hand, but I don't think we're going to be up 63-0 at halftime or anything. Yeah, unless something like that happens, I'd expect to see Bo start the second half and be able to play the whole game, play the whole half, and I think that's going to be extremely valuable for him. And I know Delaware is Delaware, but it's still live reps. It's still live bullets coming at you.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, I think third quarter.
Any specific time when in the third quarter?
The start of it.
Okay. We're in agreement.
Will Gamble asks, do you think Drew Aller throws for 300 yards again? And his bold prediction is that Singleton breaks off multiple long runs in this game. So do you think Drew Aller throws for more than 300 yards?
I don't. And that's only because he's going to be playing one half. I think he might get up to like 240. And that's still a lot in one half, but 300's a ton to throw in just a half of football.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it'll be over. I'd say over 250, though. I think they might just break one. I don't know.
Yeah, and if we have like a 90-yard touchdown, well, there's 90 of the yards right there. So
honestly, want to go back and change my answer to a different question that Randy Seeley asked just after this question from Dorito Bandit. Dorito says, what's the biggest improvement you want to see on Saturday other than special teams? And his bold prediction is that the defense forces 2 turnovers and shuts out Delaware completely. If I could go back to answer Randy Seeley's question, I would probably say sure up the special teams unit would be a nice thing to see besides injuries. Besides special teams, the biggest improvement, man, that's tough to really say. I guess I would like to see the safeties get like 4 sacks each. How about that? They just safety blitz all night, and they just remember the Titan style. We blitz all night. I don't know. I just
questionable strategy. But
there's not much to question right now. Besides, I mean, you can say the defensive line plays better, but I feel like just because they do that against Delaware, is anybody really going to believe it? So,
no, no. But it's a decent. It's not a bad sign to do it against Delaware either. But, yeah, you don't want a moment where you'd rather good moments than bad moments, obviously. But does it really mean anything in the course of the season if we look back and say, wow, we really dominated Delaware? No, we're probably not talking about the Delaware game in 5 weeks unless something bad happens.
all righty, Sean. We are going to get Caroline in here. We did it, by the way. We were actually early.
Yeah.
Think of that.
See, I believed in us.
So we're going to get Caroline in here and have some Big Ten pick'ems. If you haven't done your Big Ten pick'em yet, go ahead and fill that out. It's in the description below. It's on Twitter. Again, we had 46-something people fill it out the first time, so make sure you go ahead and fill it out. And there's a little bit of opportunity for people to kind of get back into it now. We're doing a little bit differently this year, so that will hopefully help people out a little bit.
And I
But
mean, you go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, should we show while we wait here? Should I show the standings?
Yes, you should. Very proud of these.
See if I can get this up before she hops in here. I think I can. Oh, they're really big. And still really hard to see. But that's okay. Most importantly, you can see Sean, Kane, and I and DJ Bennett are the top.
That's right. Yeah, we are numero uno. And let's be real, guys. You don't want to lose to the hosts. So
No.
try to catch us.
You lost to the host last year. You do not want the host to win yet again. Trust me on that.
Exactly. And I think we have somebody joining.
Yes, I think we do too.
Hi, Caroline.
Hello, what's going on?
Good.
See if I can widen you up a little bit here. There we go.
I like the hat.
Thank you. It's a company called Knits Collection. I think they're a little bit newer. Got some cool stuff. Got like a beanie, a hat, a shirt the other day. Should definitely check them out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Hey, Sean, do me a favor. You can sit up for me a little bit. We lost your head a little bit there. There we go.
It's weird seeing myself backwards in the fourth screen right now. I'm like not.
Oh, I
used to
know
it.
what you mean.
Well, how are you doing, Caroline? You ready? Are you excited the football season's underway and everything? Or what?
Oh, am I ever. I am so happy that we made it. I feel like myself again. I feel like my weeks are not just work. There's like a whole other life for me out there ready to be lived in between that 9 to 5 hours. So yeah, very, very excited that we're here.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the exact week we had you on last year, but this is definitely earlier than it was last year. Still full of optimism, still excited for the season. After week one, where are you at right now? Are you in the optimistic, positive crowd, or are you there is a darker part of Twitter that is turned into the Debbie Downers of the world? Where are you at?
Right. I think I was here right before Auburn last year. I was actually looking back through our DMs, and I think you had asked me to come on the week before, but my voice was completely gone from being
That's
at Purdue, so I had to postpone it. I was like,
Shoot, I
good
thought
times.
it was way later than that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty early. I remember talking about Auburn with you guys though. But yeah, I am always I'm in the completely optimistic crowd. It's during the game a few times in the beginning, maybe first half, there were some moments of doom and gloom, as one does with the ups and downs of being a football fan of any team, really. But kind of taking a step back after the game, rewatching it, reading some of the discourse, I think I'm fully on the side of like, yeah, bumps and bruises, a couple things to work out, but it was week one and we won by, 23 points or whatever it was. So can't really complain with that.
Yeah, and I know like you're super excited, and you were super excited going into the year for Drew Aller.
Yes.
How
absolutely.
did he live up to your expectations on Saturday?
I mean, that first drive, we were all there, right? It was like you knew it was coming and you were hoping it was coming, but at the same time, it was almost still shocking that it happened that fast and that early into the game. It was kind of just like I wasn't there physically, but just kind of like jump up in the chair moment in the living room, like, oh wow, we're really doing this and we're doing it right now. I think we've got something really special on our hands, and we didn't have to wait very long to see it. So it was kind of surreal. Honestly, it was like, do we get to have nice things? Like, is this actually going to happen? It was a little hard to believe. So yeah, absolutely lived up to what I was hoping for.
It's funny you say that because I was watching some film last night, and part of me thought that it's like, and I don't want to put the cart through the horse too much here, but it really kind of felt like, did we actually finally like, are things actually going to work out the way it's supposed to work out? Like, is that actually going to come to fruition? So it does nothing but put a smile on your face. So I mean, it's it's exciting times. I'm sure at some point he's going to piss us all off, but right now it's all sunshine and lollipops.
Eventually. Sure, absolutely. But it, started off so well that it's like, okay, we get to that point where he throws his first interception. Maybe I won't be as mad because of all the things that have hopefully happened before that have me so happy. So we'll get there when we get there.
Gotcha. Were you able to come up for the game? Are you coming up for any home games this year?
So I'm actually in York right now at my parents', but unfortunately didn't go to the game. Just haven't seen some of my family in a while. I've got a new nephew that's a few months old. Hadn't seen him in a few months. So just kind of hanging out with the family last Saturday. And the Sunday, I'm actually heading to the Ravens game for my brother's birthday, turning 14 on Sunday. So probably won't make the quick trip to Delaware, just kind of hanging out at home and with the family and everything. So I will be at the Illinois game and Northwestern for sure, though.
Traveling out west, huh?
Being out in Nashville, it's a little easier for me to get there than State College, unfortunately. So, never been to either of those before, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to see some new schools.
Try to stay awake for the Northwestern game. If I remember correctly, they might not still do this, but they actually have like a shuttle that goes around to all the different tailgating places and actually will pick you up for free and take you to the game, which is kind of nice.
I'll have to check that out.
That's the only thing I really remember. Freshmen. I want to talk about the freshmen. Any freshmen that have stood out to you so far or you're excited for this year? I mean, obviously the offseason, all we can do is speculate. We got to see some of them for once. Is there anyone you're looking forward to this year that maybe played a little bit on Saturday or maybe not at all, but you're excited for this year?
Sure. Yeah, I guess as far as the true freshmen didn't get a ton of playing time this weekend, really till the very end. Who's Elliott Washington made like a nice special teams tackle. That was good to see. Try and get them involved on there where you can. I think it was it Lions who only had I think he had one snap in the game. So just seeing that he had one, it was kind of like, okay, I guess they're getting ready to burn his red shirt if they're willing to just stick him in for one snap. So kind of excited just because of that happening about him. And then, of course, I feel like lots of Tony Rojas hype. So it's always nice to have a new young linebacker coming up quickly through the ranks. So definitely excited to see those two defensive guys based on what we've heard.
So there's obviously a ton of optimism in the air right now. Cory, you and myself, we all definitely share that optimism. What makes you the most nervous about this team?
Most nervous? That's a great question. I mean, the easiest thing to kind of point to is maybe having some sort of special teams gaffe, I guess. I was saying yesterday, not to compare us to Alabama, but my immediate reaction to missing those short field goals on Saturday was I don't know, a decade or so ago, whenever that was, when it always felt like Bama had these great teams and just disastrous kicking game. And it cost them here and there. And I was like, what if we're the best we've been on offense, this amazing quarterback, we've got this standout defense, and then we're just in a tight game with Michigan or Ohio State and a field goal messes us up. It's more heartbreaking than a blowout, I think would be. So that definitely makes me nervous. It was awesome of Falcons to step up on Saturday, but him not winning the job in the first place also doesn't give me a ton of hope. So that's definitely a little concerning for me right now. I think just that, the possibility of a heartbreak on something as small as a field goal.
Yeah, it'd be horrible to see it gets derailed on a missed kick. But I know a lot of people are worried about the run defense. That doesn't worry you.
Of course, like I said, during the game, when it felt like the quarterback was, Green was running around for these large chunks here and there. But it also kind of looked like, I was talking to people during the game and everybody kept saying, why don't they put a spy on him? Why isn't somebody watching this guy? And I guess that was part of the plan. It also seemed like Manny was subbing a lot very early. So I don't know if that was just kind of we want to get some other guys in here because we know we're probably going to win this and just try and get them some reps here. So after going back through the game, I was kind of less concerned. And if you think about it, the first team only gave up one touchdown. So you can't really ask for a whole lot more than that, even though while those drives were happening and couldn't get off the field on third down because they ran for another 10-yard gain. It was stressful, but, look at the final score and it was okay, well, we made it out pretty well. So trying not to panic there, but of course, everyone else, flashbacks of Michigan. So
absolutely. Hopefully you're not gonna panic too much here to go through our pick'em. Were you able to do some research here? Are you ready to pick? I don't remember. Do you remember what your record was last year?
I don't. I think I did pretty well. I wasn't perfect, but I think maybe missed like a couple.
I think you did pretty good.
I don't think it was a tough week because it was early. A lot of the cupcake games and some of these I felt like I was picking too many obvious favorites, so I tried to throw in a little bit of upset here and there. So we'll see.
There were some tough ones, but I don't think this was necessarily a cupcake week compared to some weeks that
No.
we had last year.
Right.
There's some tougher ones. Also, I feel like maybe the Big Ten is just a mess, and so
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit trickier. But
It's hard to tell what's going on right now.
yeah,
April's a
I
little
think
weird.
a lot to do with like we don't have a lot of great quarterbacks in the Big Ten right now, and so that
Mhm.
kind of leaves the door open. I feel like for some upsets along the way. Probably not an upset, but Indiana State at Indiana. Where are you going?
Definitely taking Indiana on this one. I watched a little bit of their game because I wanted to see what OSU looked like, of course. And I mean, nothing was really jumping out at you, but only scored 3, but they were hanging in there for about a half. So yeah, I don't see a particular struggle with whoever Indiana State is.
You're going with Hoosiers, Sean?
Hoosiers beat the Fighting Larry Birds. Yes, I do.
Okay, this is actually a tricky one right off the bat. Illinois at Kansas. I believe it's on Friday night.
Mhm.
Illinois, I believe, is like a 3-point favorite right now.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
What you got?
So I think I'm going to go with Kansas. I didn't catch any of the Illinois game last week, but, barely squeaking out a win against Toledo at home when you're probably your most juiced up isn't an ideal look. Not that Toledo is going to be terrible, but, people were thinking Illinois next week was going to be our first big test on the road. And I think I'm going to wait until I see this game against Kansas to see if I'm actually going to be worried about this game or not. I will be worried regardless, but the level of worriedness will depend on what happens here. I feel like it's a relatively exciting time for Kansas football right now. It's a Friday night game. They're going to be excited. So yeah, I could see them definitely getting a win here. And of course, Illinois is probably already preparing for their orange out against us because every team thinks they need to do insert color here out against Penn State, as if we're going to be impressed by that, that worked out great for Auburn. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Kansas. Also sitting up in my parents' basement here, my grandpa, Lester, who I never met, he actually played for the Jayhawks way back in the day. And I was reading through this little article. It's on the wall over here. He was a D tackle at 6'4", 232.
Nice.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah. Shout out Lester G.
That's like what C.J. Donaldson, running back for West Virginia.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have to go with
Yeah,
Kansas
that's
there. You're in
dope.
that basement. You don't have a choice there.
Mhm.
That almost makes me want to change my pick. Sean, who do you have?
I got the Jayhawks as well. Like Caroline said, a lot of excitement around Kansas football right now. Toledo is a good team, a good MAC team, and they gave Illinois a scare last week. If it was at Illinois, I'd probably take the Fighting Illini, but I'm going to go with Kansas.
Yeah, I just picture a really raucous environment.
Those fans get crazy there too.
I'm sure this is probably the most excited they've been in a while, so I think they're going to show out.
Yeah, when they have a good team, they do come up. They do come to the games.
It's not basketball season. I think Brett Bielema takes care of business. I got Illinois winning on the road. Sorry, everybody, to burst your bubble there.
I can respect it.
It's all right. I mean, I'll be excited if Illinois wins.
It's better for us if they win.
Yeah, put a little more meaning behind that game on Saturday or next Saturday.
Are we all on Ohio State over the Penguins of Youngstown State?
Yes.
We are indeed. Yes.
I'm going to save the Penn State Delaware game for the end.
Okay.
Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado is only a 3-point favorite. These tickets are like $400 a piece. Nebraska just melted and peed their pants against Minnesota. Let's go, Sean. Sean, who do you have here? Nebraska, Colorado.
It's so crazy that those tickets are that much money for two teams that I'm not sure if either of them are going to make a bowl yet. And I know everybody's all on Colorado. And they had an impressive win, no question about it. Up front, though, they're still not good. They have a terrible defense outside of Travis Hunter. But I'm still going to take them because they're playing Nebraska. and you always bet against Nebraska. That's my one rule in betting. On the money line, always bet against them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about you, Caroline?
It's me. I'm all hyped up on Colorado. I watched that full game with my dad last weekend, and neither of us have any stake, in this team at all. My dad's fully swearing at the TV when they mess up. Like, we were both completely into it. So involved in the storyline. So yeah, I mean, their first home game of the season after the performance they put on last week, the $400 tickets, like, it's going to be insane in there. And there's no way that they don't pull out a win there, especially after Nebraska's disaster last week. I don't foresee them overcoming that, even though Colorado has no defense. I don't know that it's going to matter too much. They'll score too much on Nebraska.
Yeah, Sims is a liability at quarterback. Their tickets are more than the Denver Broncos season opener, if you were curious, which is just crazy there. I'm also going to Colorado. Purdue Boilermakers at the Fighting Brent Prize in Virginia Tech. Caroline, you think the Boilermakers can pull this off, or are you going with Brent Prize Hokies?
This is one of the ones I went back and forth on. Tough look for Purdue sending Fresno State home with a $1.3 million paycheck after coming in and beating them last weekend. But they actually weren't favored by that much. I was surprised before that game. They were only like -4. So I guess it wasn't that much of a shock. But anyway, I did initially want to take Virginia Tech. But I'm picking Purdue to rebound here.
Wow.
Maybe if it was a night game at Virginia Tech, I think maybe Enter Sandman would be a little more powerful. But for some reason, I want to take Purdue to bounce back here after embarrassing themselves.
John?
I got Virginia Tech. I think Brent Pry starts to build there, and this is the kind of win he really needs. I think they're a better team on paper than Purdue. Purdue was in a complete rebuild. They lost to a Fresno State team that, even for being a respectable program, wasn't expected to do a whole lot this season. And I think the home field advantage makes a difference, and I'm gonna take Tech in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Virginia Tech too. Just don't see much of that Purdue team right now. We knew it was going to be a rough year for them. That I've been to that stadium. I've been there in person for how loud it gets when Enter Sandman happens. I just think that's going to be too much for the Boilermakers. Michigan. Are we all on Michigan over UNLV?
Yeah, and we're in for another week of debating JJ versus Drew.
What's up with
At
that?
least
That's just crazy, right?
the Michigan fans are obsessed. It's like we can both acknowledge that they both played well, and we played a better team than Michigan did. So like, why do we have to get crazy? I don't know. They're all up in all Penn State
It honestly
fans
just seems like they're scared.
right now. It's definitely what it is. Yeah, I saw somebody saying today, they didn't do this with Clifford ever, so it's not something's changed.
Let's go Iowa at Iowa State. Sean,
Iowa State.
I'm assuming you're taking Michigan to win.
I wanted to get it on the Michigan hate.
Okay.
I think they're
a chance.
I think they're a very insecure fan base. It kind of reminds me. I don't know if either of you watch much of baseball. I'm a Yankee fan. They kind of remind me of the Red Sox fans in that they almost still have that mentality that they're a little brother to Ohio State, and they're just feel the need to prove themselves all the time. And it's like, guys, relax. You won the Big Ten the last 2 years. Who cares about some Offensive Player of the Week award that nobody's going to remember in a month?
Right. Like, I'm going to talk about it, for the next couple of days, but after that,
it's over. Fine.
And if JJ had won, I wouldn't have thought twice about it because it was week 1 and we've got a lot, and it's just a media award. So,
right.
Yeah, no, they're definitely scared. They heard JJ get all the hype, coming into the season. We didn't technically know, how Drew was going to do, and if he was going to be all that he was supposed to be. So they were able to sort of lean on the fact that they knew they had the one really solid quarterback in the Big Ten. And now 1 week later, they're like, crap, there might be another really good one. So they're scared.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
You said you have Iowa State beating Iowa. Why is that?
Yes, I did take Iowa State. I did not see any of the Iowa game. I heard a little bit about it, saw the final score. Brian Ferentz already behind on his little joint journey to points is not a great look for him after playing. Who they play Utah State last week. Yeah, just not inspiring a ton of confidence. Plus, I just disdain Iowa. I know it would be better if they won leading up to the whiteout in a couple of weeks, but at the same time, it's just like I don't. It is what it is. If we just win all our games, it doesn't matter how Iowa was ranked when we got to them. So, yeah, gonna take Iowa State there.
I just realized on the ticker, I still put 38-15, Sean, because or 38-16
Yeah.
because I just couldn't stop writing 38-16 instead of 38-15. But anyways, Iowa State. Who you got?
You know, with the Hawkeyes. I don't feel great about this one though, and in all honesty, I'm kind of going off what's best for Penn State because I don't feel good about either of these teams. I think Iowa's a solid team. I'm not expecting a whole lot from Iowa State, but I'm gonna go with the Hawkeyes here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Iowa to win, but it's a 4-point spread. I think Iowa State covers that. I think, honestly,
Is Iowa's favored?
Iowa's favored, yeah.
Okay.
I think Iowa State finds a way to honestly lose this game in another weird way. The last couple of years now, they should have won, and they found a weird way to lose a couple of those, especially out there. So, yeah, I've got Iowa State losing, but a close one to Iowa. Richmond. Not the Northmen of Richmond, just Richmond versus Michigan State. Michigan State didn't look great for half there, but I think we're all on Michigan State.
Yeah, I had the Mel Tucker memes primed and ready to go during that first half, but I held off because I was like, they'll probably overcome this, and they did. So I didn't want to get too ahead of myself. I'll save those for another day. But yes, taking Michigan State here.
Emphatically there.
Yeah,
Emphatically came back.
Yeah, they looked rough in the first half there, but they did have a nice recovery. I'll give them credit. But yeah, it's going to be party sparty on Saturday.
Kind of a low-key tough pick. UTEP versus Northwestern. Northwestern, I think, is like favored by like 2.5, maybe something stupid like that.
Yeah, it's like 1.5, 2. Yeah.
Oh
something.
Lord, that's not a good sign. I went with Northwestern, but I don't feel good about it.
I think Northwestern is actually underdogs, is at least what I wrote down. I don't know if that's right.
Oh wow.
But I think that actually might be slight underdogs at home to UTEP. UTEP, who lost pretty stupidly the week 0, I guess, to Jackson State. But yeah, I watched actually the entire Northwestern Rutgers game on Saturday. Won some money on Rutgers, so that was exciting. It does feel like as much of a toss-up as they're giving it to us by Vegas. This was a hard one for me to pick. I think I'm going to go with Northwestern. Just like have some pride. They might not win a Big Ten game, so they don't have a lot of options as far as actually getting a win or two the rest of the year. So it's really just me kind of internally pulling for them. Like, come on, guys, just get like one. But yeah. That's not going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I realize that the instinct, especially in Penn State fans, is to not root for the conference, root against the conference. This is one we should be rooting for Northwestern for because of the potential tiebreaker at the end of the season.
Yeah, or does it not count because they're not playing a Big Ten team?
Oh, that doesn't count then? It's only Big Ten. Okay, well, scratch that. You could root against Big Ten, and in which case I will, but I'm still taking Northwestern. I think if they're gonna win it, if they don't win this one, they're probably not winning a game. Like that's a very, very bad sign if they don't win this one.
Yeah, I don't even know who their third non-conference game is, but I'm assuming, or I guess they still have 2 more, but I don't think it's going to be good for them.
Yeah.
Just if you're not favored by UTEP at home,
that's a tough look.
They were so close to getting shut out by Rutgers and then scored at the very end. I was kind of sad for Rutgers, honestly. It would have been their first shutout in a while.
Almost felt bad for Rutgers, but then not really. Wisconsin at Wazoo. Just historically, Big Ten teams haven't done great on the road out there on the West Coast facing these Pac, 12, 9, 6, 4 teams, whatever's left. I think Wisconsin's favored by like 7 or 6.5. I think was the last time I saw.
Yeah, like 6-ish.
Carolina got.
Yeah, this is kind of just one of those games I felt like picking an upset. Yeah, like you said, the weird West Coast vibes, another night game. Wisconsin obviously showed their insane run game last week against Buffalo. Washington State was playing Colorado State, and I looked, they only allowed 37 rush yards. Don't know that means anything, but I guess it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be run over by Wisconsin by any means. And didn't think Wisconsin had much of a pass game in week 1. So I don't know. Just kind of in the mood to pick a weird West Coast night game upset. It just gives me those vibes. So yeah, picking Washington State.
Taking the Badgers, but I totally hear what you're saying, because I didn't feel great about this pick. If it was at Camp Randall, I would no question pick Wisconsin. I also think this would probably go from being a 6.5 point spread to maybe a 10 point spread. I think that travel makes that much of a difference in point spreads. But I do believe in Luke Fickell. I think he's a good coach, and I think they get it done out in what's it called, Pullman?
Yeah,
Pullman?
I think you're right.
Pullman. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Washington State won in Wisconsin last year, 17-14. So they're going for the sweep right now, which is just kind of crazy to think about.
That.
Forgot about that one.
I'm going to take Wisconsin to win. I think Phil Longo there will throw the ball more if they have to than maybe previous offense coordinators would have. And I think the ability to throw the ball will be the difference here. So I've got Mordecai in Wisconsin getting the dub, but I think it's really close. I was thinking about betting on this game. I actually decided to stay away from it because it just kind of scared me too much. Charlotte, Maryland. I think Charlotte is somewhat in the realm of possibilities for people to bet on, but I took Maryland to win this one.
Yeah, I think I said a similar thing when I was on here last week. You always take Maryland, to win the first couple games of the year. Then people start saying, "Oh, like is Maryland like low key good?" And you're like, "No, they're actually not." So yeah, gotta pick Maryland while they're playing Charlotte for sure. They'll win that one.
Just took the words right out of Sean's mouth. I promise.
I think I said the same thing last year.
Yes.
I don't remember who they were playing, but it was a similar situation, and I made fun of them that way.
Yeah, it's the same story with Maryland. They'll be fine. They might even get up to the top 25 by the end of the month. But when you start with Towson and Charlotte, I don't know how you could. First off, is there an easier start to a schedule than Towson and Charlotte? Is Charlotte
Michigan
even
schedule,
FBS?
maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
ECU, UNLV. Just kidding. Just had to get a Michigan shot.
Maybe them, but man, oh man, yeah, they play nobody. So I say Charlotte fears the turtle, and I'll taking the Terps, but the Terps are dead men walking, I think.
Yeah. Just simple as that. Let's go to Minnesota. You betcha. Eastern Michigan at Minnesota. Minnesota melted or came back there, but they looked pretty awful for a lot of that game. If it wasn't for just Nebraska melting into nothing, they probably would have lost it. Don't think Eastern Michigan's very good, though. I have Minnesota winning. Yeah,
I would definitely take Minnesota to win. They're favored by 20.5. I don't know that at this point Minnesota can score that many points based on how bad they looked last week. So definitely take them to win. But I don't know about once they start playing more Big Ten teams.
Same. I would think Eastern Michigan covers, but I'll take Minnesota to win the game.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. I might have to throw some money on it. I don't think that line was out when I was looking the other day, so I have to look at that one.
Yeah, still waiting on a couple of these.
Yeah, Penn State's not even out, I don't think yet. I don't know if it will be out. But Temple at Rutgers to wrap things up here. Rutgers obviously won. Temple barely squeaked by Akron. It's at Rutgers. Caroline, do you think Rutgers continues, gets a 2-0?
I went back and forth on this one as well, just because it is Rutgers. But they looked okay. Like I said, watch that full game on Sunday. Nothing else to do.
God bless you.
And I think didn't look terrible. I wouldn't say their offense was explosive. They've got Shiraka there right now, and it looked okay. I felt like they were running pretty well. Their quarterback can run a little bit. Didn't make too many mistakes. So yeah, I think they're capable of beating Temple. Don't know if I'd take the -9 there, but I think they can beat Temple at home.
Sean?
I got Rutgers too. My brother goes to Temple, actually. He said that he's expecting them to be better this year, but I think Rutgers has a good enough defense to be able to carry the day, so I'm going to take Rutgers.
And then Caroline, the double down game spreads. Did you pick one of those, and what are you going with?
I did. I think I'm going to go with Colorado to cover. What did you guys have it at, like the 3.5? I think I'm going to go with that one. That's the one that jumps out at me the most. I just feel like they're going to be so amped up for that home game, being their first one. Nebraska's down in the dumps a little bit after last week. Colorado couldn't be any higher. They believe in themselves. They really have that like us against the world mentality, and I just think there's no way Nebraska handles that, and I don't think 3.5 is too much for them to cover by. Nebraska could barely muster, like 10 points last week. So I don't know that it's going to be too hard for them, even with the lack of defense, to cover the 3.5.
Yeah. Sean, do you because Penn State's not on here this week, did you put your your double down? What'd you go with?
I said Washington State covers. I do think Wisconsin wins the game, but I think Washington State covers out there.
Yeah, I was trying to find mine because I didn't actually write mine down for that. I submitted the thingy, but no idea where it is on this list. So don't have an answer for you on what mine is, but I want to say I got no idea. I want to say I put on Colorado too, because I know I put some money on Colorado to cover, so I feel like that would make sense on what I would do. But I have no idea what past Cory has done or continues to do. Caroline, are you ready to make your Penn State Delaware prediction? Have a feeling we know what you're going to do as far as score, so why don't you throw in a bold prediction as well?
A bold prediction. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I went back and forth on a little bit. I think I'm going to go with Penn State. This is the one I picked last as well because it did take me a while. Let's see. Bold prediction. I don't know if this is bold or not, but I'm going to say that the tight ends get significantly more action. I don't know that I want to put a number to it exactly, but I'd say they get involved much, much earlier, first couple of drives trying to get them involved because we know that they're going to get pulled at the end and after not having a lot of action last week. I think they're really going to try and get them in first half before they start pulling people. I was listening to you guys for a little bit before I came on, and I heard you trying to figure out when you think Bo will come in. And yeah, I would say probably if not the start of the third, maybe halfway through. So I feel like it's going to be a really big point of emphasis to get Theo and Tyler involved early and often.
Do you have a score for us?
Let's see here. Let's go let's shout out to Pitt since they can't stop talking about this week either. We'll go 51-6.
That's awesome.
Just Pitt guys, I don't search for them. They find me. I don't remember what I was tweeting about today, but one of them found me and he's like, Penn State needs to play harder out of conference opponents. I'm like, well, yeah, why do you think we stopped playing Pitt? He's like, no, that's why you need to play Pitt. No, actually it's the opposite.
It's amazing how obsessed it has become.
I don't know who they think they are.
Yeah. They had one good season and they'll never forget it.
In the easiest division in college football.
Yeah.
Well, Caroline, let people know where they can find you, except for the Pitt fans, and
seriously,
plug anything you'd like to plug.
You can find me on Twitter _SupCaroline. Same on Instagram. I'm not on there as much or as funny, or at least I like to think I am. But you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and I actually just started a weekly space thing with Basic Blues. Did our first one last night. It's called a Penn State Roar Room. Did a little bit over an hour of a couple of us talking, letting other people get involved if they have questions and stuff at the end. And it was pretty fun. So we don't have a set schedule for that yet, but thinking maybe Monday, Tuesday each week, maybe try and get that a little more consistent so people know. But just follow along there, me and Basic Blues, and you'll know when they're happening.
Yeah, I saw you guys were on there for quite a while. It lets you know at the top of your Twitter, like, and I feel like every time I was on, maybe I was just on Twitter too much, but I always felt like you were in the space. I was like, I feel like you've been in the
It was
space
my
all
first
day.
one. I've never done a space before, so I was kind of nervous because I was, one of like the people that was hosting it. And I was like, oh wow, I hope I sound professional. Luckily, I've been on your podcast and a couple other ones, so I've gotten at least a little bit of practice there. But yeah, it was a good time. So probably Monday, Tuesday of each week, maybe Tuesday, trying to avoid Monday Night Football. But yeah, just follow along, and I'll be sure to let everyone know.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, you'll do great. You were fantastic to have on the first time. That's why you're invited back a second time. We appreciate having you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you around.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All righty.
I'm wearing the same shirt I wore Saturday, by the way.
Saturday? Nice.
Yes. I did wash it for all those wondering.
I was going to say, I wouldn't have been able to do that just so it wouldn't have been clean, but that's fine.
Yeah, we did laundry yesterday, so.
Let's get into bold predictions. I'll start. Man, I didn't even realize this is my bold prediction until right now. My bold prediction is Bo Prabila starts the entire second half. I kind of forgot that I wrote that down already earlier today, and we talked about it. But yeah, that's my bold prediction. The entire second half, Bo Prabila starts.
All right. Well, I predict us to score 42 points in the first half. So I think this one gets out of hand pretty quick. Well, relatively quick. I mean, maybe it's close for the first quarter, but then I think Penn State finds that next gear. Maybe a defensive touchdown, but I don't want to predict a defensive touchdown specifically. The quarterback had 2 interceptions against Stony Brook last week, and he ain't playing Stony Brook this week. So
nice. Did you gave your prediction first, didn't you? Your score prediction?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Then I shall start. Penn State, Delaware score prediction time. Don't think Delaware's very good as far as Penn State competition goes. Solid team, though, as far as the FCS ranks is concerned. They've got some good things going on there. But they have a new quarterback. They've got really young depth at linebacker and little depth at linebacker. I have Penn State winning this one 52-3. And I think they kind of stretch their muscles a little bit, make sure everyone kind of gets in and stays healthy, and just gets out of there with a solid win and gets to prepare for Illinois.
Sounds good to me. I have a very similar story and score to Cory. I have Penn State winning 59-7. I think we put up a lot of points. Like I said, I think the first team puts up, 38 in the first half, and then I think the backups come in and add on another 3 touchdowns. So overall, I think you're going to be more happy with depth. Last week, we talked about this with Caroline. A lot of the freshmen didn't play as much as we thought they would. That changes this week. I think you see a lot of guys get in. Obviously, the Tony Rojas's, the King Max of the world, but also a guy like Jameel Lyons, a guy like Javen Williams. I think you start seeing them. Maybe Andrew Rapplier, or London Montgomery, Cam Wallace. So I think a lot of the underclassmen get in that haven't seen a whole lot of time yet or any time yet, and I think they mostly impress. Not saying though there won't be any bumps and not bumps. Hopefully no bumps and bruises. Any pickups along the way, but I think we play well this week. Take care of business.
Awesome. Simple enough. Well, thanks again to Caroline for hopping on the show. She's always fantastic to have on. Just a great personality and just kind of taps into the Twitter world a little bit, which is always fun. It's not the Twitter sphere anymore. It's whatever. Planet X.
The X here.
But
X
no,
realm.
So shout out to her. Make sure you follow her on Twitter. She's fun to follow on Twitter. And thank you guys for being here live on YouTube, watching us. Make sure you've already liked the video and subscribed. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the podcast. We will be back on Monday to recap Delaware. Until then, that's Sean Kane. I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. See you, everybody.